Let's get more perspective on the challenge of waste management in Lagos. And joining me on the news at 10 is an environmentalist, Mrs. Dara Oshodi. Many thanks indeed for coming on the news at 10 tonight. Now, there was a time in Lagos State was seen pretty much as very clean. And at some point that changed. We didn't see the PSPs anymore. And the filth just became just so much. Would you say that we've missed it at some point?
Certainly we did, because PSPs are investors, and they came in the first place as a result of the inability of government to provide solid waste management services to the state. That's how they came. So we have to look at the metrics of what is happening now. Why is it at the point that they introduced the Cleaner Lagos initiative that we now have this dirt?
Do you think, for instance, let's talk some more about this Cleaner Lagos initiative. A chain of reactions happen anytime we're talking about waste management and how best to tackle it. Lagos State is going the way of this new initiative that it wants to go. But do you think that is enough to address the issue?
It's a mixed reaction. We all desire cleaner Lagos, the governor, the residents, and everybody. Mm-hmm. But what the foreign company can do is to manage the landfill. The place, the final resting place of waste is what we need. Operators must have access to quick disposal of the waste. Presently, we all ride on waste into the landfill, and we ride out of the landfill on waste. And most of the time when the trucks get stuck there, the caterpillars have to push them, and that way they damage and disfigure the trucks. I've heard a lot of government officials talking about the trucks not being able to climb the waste mountain. Waste trucks are not designed to climb anything. That we're supposed to have multiple evacuation spaces and just drive into the landfill and dispose of the waste, or we either have transfer stations so we don't have to drive long distances and have traffic impact, and then have a holding station, which is the transfer station, and dispose the waste there. If those two things are missing, operators are not going to be able to perform at peak efficiencies. And when you come in and you disenfranchise 350 operators and you say, this is a new company, and we've not received any letters, we've all read things in the newspapers, then you're going to set confusion in motion.
But do you think that the Lagos State government under this initiative will be able to absorb some of those PSPs that have been laid down now?
Certainly. I mean, even in the United States, you have operators having over 45 landfill sites coexisting with what we call pop and mom waste management companies. That is one single, with just one truck. They coexist side by side. So, I mean, we can't sell out our state for any private organization. It doesn't work. I can give you an instance of a place like Cairo that has the same 15,000 metric tons of waste like Lagos. When it was concessioned to 4 foreign companies, they had to run away at the end of the day. It's, you know, everywhere you have to work with the locals because of experience, because of routing considerations. They know the route, they know the timing, they know the people, and they understand the waste stream. They understand the volume of the waste that are actually emanating from the from those routes.
How do we deal with this situation? Because we've heard complaints and reports come through that people don't actually want to pay for the waste that they're disposing.
I actually don't believe that people don't want to pay for their waste disposal. It's a function of service delivery. You give me a good service, people will pay. Residents of Lagos State will pay. They have been paying. What we need from the government is sensitization, education. You have to tell people why they probably have to patronize PSP operators, and why they have to pay for the service, because it's a function of costs. The cost of the trucks is huge. The cost of fueling the trucks is huge. The cost of paying the workers. Sometimes some of the waste management companies in Lagos actually provided accommodation for these workers, so there is a timely evacuation of waste.
So if this initiative that the governor of Lagos State, Akinwumi Ambode, is looking at is not sustainable, according to you, what must be done?
Environmental justice is not dictatorial. You need stakeholders' engagement. You need the residents. We all need to sit down. You need the residents, you need the operators, we need government. We have to rub minds. Environmental justice is not dictatorial. Waste management is a science on its own. It's not something, it's not a driver just driving trucks around and picking the waste. There is a scientific element, a scientific component to it.
Which is?
Which is sometimes how to densify the load, the productivity time, the idling time. You know, we have a lot of breaks and stops, which means that the hydraulic systems, after a particular movement, you need oils, fluids, so many things are coming. And sometimes you have hot loads, because hot loads are waste that are heating up, in the bucket of the waste. So you have to know the material types that are coming in. We're not just picking waste for the sake of picking waste. Government need to sit down with all actors and all participants. In Cairo, it has failed, and in other places, it has failed without adequate consideration.
What do you think the end product will be for waste that is properly managed? For instance, in other climes, that kind of waste is being converted to some form of energy and used in homes, for instance. Do you see the future holding this for us?
Yes, certainly it does happen, but it's not something that is just going to happen like that. Because you have to look at the composition of the waste stream. Here, our waste stream, the moisture content is high. So you need to really heat to a certain level of calorific value to get it dry before you start generating electricity with it. But the first element of reducing the volume of waste going to the landfill is waste prevention, is education. You have to tell people, why pay twice? Why buy so much? We can have refill centers, like all these pure water sachet, we can reduce it. Or we can do some form of education. Earlier on last year, I was in Gambia. We were using plastic waste to do floor tiles. There are so many things that we can do. There is value in waste. We can remove a whole lot of materials there and reuse it, repurpose it, or do something, better with it. But in terms of electricity generation, the technology is expensive. And there are other simpler models that we can do.
I want to thank you so much indeed, Mrs. Dara Oshodi. She is, of course, an environmentalist. Thank you so much indeed for talking to us here on the News at 10.
Thank you for inviting me.